drink, in our necessities, and in our comforts, in our labors, and in our amusements, for our calling and our creeds. We will have no time to think, no means of calling our mismanagers to account, but be glad to obtain subsistence by hiring ourselves to rivet their chains on the necks of our fellow surfers. And this is the tendency of all human governments. A departure from principle in one instance becomes a precedence for another, till the bulk of society is reduced to be more automatons of misery. And the forehorse of this frightful team is public debt. Taxation follows that, and in its train, wretchedness and oppression. Thomas Jefferson. So that's a kind of an interesting way to start this show. But I want to kind of introduce a couple people. First, I've got Tina DuPont on the line with us. She's the founder of the Tea Party of West Michigan. Tina and her organization are unpaid lobbyists in Lansing, and they primarily are taking up the issues of liberty and limited government on behalf of the citizens of Michigan. And I want to personally thank you for your efforts, Tina. And,
you're welcome.
And on the same, we've got Jim Riley, co-host of the great morning show Eye on Muskegon.
Co-host.
King
host.
King, I get so confused.
Czar of the Eye on Muskegon show.
That's from 8:30 till 10 normally, and that's the show that the Renegade River is catching up and surpassing in the ratings, I might add.
So, bingo.
Welcome both of you to the Renegade River show. Tina, what I was hoping to do today, if I could, is get you to start us off by, I've been reading some Facebook posts of yours regarding HB 411, and I'm trying to tell me a little bit about what it is and what it means to me as a citizen in Michigan.
Well, last session, there was $9.8 million offered up to the states if they upgraded their information technology systems to usher in Obamacare, or the PPACA, which is Obamacare. It's easier to call it Obamacare. And we have been alerted to the fact that if we don't write this thing, the federal government has said that they will. And what they didn't understand, or what they tried to pull, I guess, is that they said that in the law, but they did not fund themselves to do that. So our position is, if we don't do it and we force them to do it, they don't have the money, and therefore we might actually be able to kill Obamacare. So, I'm sorry?
Well, I was just going to ask, where does the $9.8 million come from? That's from the federal government, isn't it?
It's from the federal government,
okay.
Which, remember, is we the taxpayer.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, so that money, it passed right through the Senate, but we managed to, through lobbying and through calls and all that, to stop it in the House in the last session. Now, the way sessions work in Lansing and probably in the U.S. government, I would imagine, is that when the session is over, the slate is cleared and they have to start over again. So this time around, Obama sweetened the pot. He made it almost $31 million, again, our money, to give to the states, and it was a little more than they could withstand. That pot of gold sitting out there was too much for all of our legislators, but I think maybe 19 Republicans in the House. So they appropriated it the other day, much to our sadness, and now it goes to the Senate, because the Senate got a black eye last session, and they didn't want to do it again. That's our assumption. So they made the House do it first. So now the Senate, as early as Tuesday, can vote on this thing, and so we're still in the process of trying to stop that. So call your senator, email them, whatever you can, to tell them not to take this money, which is our money. The government, our federal government, frankly, they're broke. Why in the world do they even think that money's going to be there? It just doesn't make any sense.
Is this a simple majority vote in the Senate that can stop this?
Yeah, I believe so. And we have supermajority, I believe, in the Senate right now.
What are the tea leaves telling you?
Well, I thought all was lost, but then I started seeing little things like Richard Bill, who's the Speaker of the Senate, or leader, I get those names confused. He's the top of the Senate, actually sounding wobbly. So I'm hoping that maybe we have some hope. So while I was depressed for a couple days, and I said, just forget it, everybody, it's done. I changed my mind the other day, and actually the night before last, I think, and sent out a message to all our folks to get on them, because maybe we can actually stop it in the Senate this time around.
Just keep your dukes up. Remember, no surrender, no retreat. Let me ask you on that note. Do you know where Arlen Meekoff is, or Jeff Hansen is, or the senator in your area, where these people are in West Michigan on this topic?
I do not. I haven't been calling myself. I actually usually visit over there myself, but haven't been since I was there Thursday, and we were also depressed over what they did in the House. But I'm thinking that probably Tuesday I'll be over there again, and maybe I'll find out some of those, what some of them believe. I have talked to Senator Emmons. I didn't talk to her personally. I talked to her staff, and I suggested that she probably should not pass that. And I know that they always pass on whatever you tell the people in the office. So I know she's heard it. I don't know where she stands.
It would be real interesting to have the voice of those legislators in West Michigan to tell us what they're. And this is kind of a Jim Riley drum I'm beating here by accident, but to have them tell us where they stand before they vote, so that we can have some input. Maybe they should be reaching out to us. I have no idea where Arlen Meekoff, where Jeff Hansen, and all of the rest of the contingencies.
Neither do I.
Some from West Michigan stand. It's huge. I know that in the last go-around, it was called, this is essentially the same as the health exchange. Is that right, Tina?
Right. It's setting up the exchange.
Yeah, so we're just kind of rebooting it. The irony to it, or my concern, not irony, my concern, though, is that if Obama's going to print $31 million of new, fresh, still sticky money to put into this, then if he's got that to bribe Michigan with, then he also has that to set up however he wants to do it. Does that make sense? So if we bow out, one of the comments you made early on, one of my concerns is just what they're threatening, is that if they have $31 million and we don't follow through and they do proceed, I don't see anybody running around the state of Michigan other than those people that quote founding fathers yelling about the 10th Amendment, saying get out of our state.
Well, and we are constantly saying those things to them. We're telling them that the states made the federal government, the states made the Supreme Court, the states gave Obama his job, and also all our legislators in D.C., and therefore we have the power over them, except what is enumerated in the Constitution, which they've gone way beyond at this point. And the Supreme Court actually is made by us, so they don't even, the states can decide what's constitutional, and this is clearly not. So that's what we try to explain to these guys. Get a backbone, guys. You're the protection for the state of Michigan. That's what you should be doing.
God bless you, Tina. Hey, I'm curious, when you're over there in Lansing lobbying on issues like this, and I know you're over there quite a bit, what kind of appeal are they pushed back against you? Are they acidy, or how do they handle the Tea Party of West Michigan when it comes to town to lobby for a given issue?
Well, when we lobby, we don't actually lobby as Tea Party of West Michigan, because I have 2,700 members, and I don't poll them each time to decide are we for or against this issue. I do, however, know that probably 95% of our members are against this Obamacare thing, so I don't worry as much about this one. But there's others that I've lobbied, and I lobby as a person, not as a founder of Tea Party West Michigan or leader, any of that stuff. I don't even mention that I'm with Tea Party West Michigan when I lobby. But I'm sorry, I got myself totally off the. You wanted to know how they treat us or what they say?
Yeah, I'm just curious if they push back against you or roll their eyes or.
Well, it depends. It depends on the legislator. There are some that are more conservative-leaning or more liberty-minded that love us. They love us because we give them backup and backbone. And then there are others who don't want to do the right thing, and they don't like us. And through this last particular issue, we've actually lost, I think there's been some relationships broken because some of them accepted there were talking points actually sent out to all of the legislators, and they're full of holes, these talking points, but we got them. I got them 2 days ago, and I should have brought a print to you and gone through them and said how they were all wrong, but they all believe these, and I think that there's been some pots sweetened in some ways. I know that the big insurance, big hospital, big pharma are all pushing this, as are the Michigan Chamber and the Grand Rapids Chamber and other chambers and other business groups. And by the way, if you are a small business member and you're a member of any of these things, you need to start looking at what they're doing, because they're using your money to do it. And if they're not on your side, you need to let them know or even leave. But those guys had a lot of power and have really swayed a lot of our legislators, and I think that's how this happened. I think between the governor and those groups, they totally bowled over our legislators, and I think our legislators know better, but they use those talking points and others against us. We won't have any control if we don't write this thing. Well, I got news for them. Sebelius has all control of Obamacare. It's not going to matter what kind of laws they write or anything. We have no control in Michigan over our health care. And that's the way it's going to be.
It's a fascinating thing. What makes me curious is, while you were talking about the Michigan Chamber and some of the other organizations, at least from a legislative point of view, having been a candidate, I ran for the State House in 2006. One of the things I found fascinating was the power that groups like the Michigan Chamber of Commerce have, and how it translates, just so listeners can imagine this. For a potential legislator or a person coming up and maybe a challenged run, they need those endorsements to be able to raise enough money to be able to have a campaign to get the attention of the voters. So it becomes like chasing their tail a little bit. If you get the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, with it comes a number of other endorsements. They move, I don't want to say they move in packs, but they move in packs. So the Michigan Chamber certainly wields a pretty big stick. What I'm curious about, though, is I also believe in follow the money. And so when I start looking and asking the great question of why would they do that, what in the world are they thinking, it causes me to want to look at the money trail and find out how they perceive it as a benefit to themselves or their membership. And as a small business owner, I can tell you that that's the last thing in the world I want. And for those listening, I can tell you right up front, it will prevent my little store from hiring people. So it's not like I'll scale back. I won't hire anybody because of it. I can't afford it. So,
right.
I mean, so what do you think, Tina? Do you have any? Have you seen any hints of what's in it for the chamber to pursue this nonsensical socialism?
No, but I don't know if you're aware of Joan Fabiano. She sent out a newsletter, I think it was this morning or last night, and she had 3 of the characters in the House, and the money they'd gotten from different groups like that, and it's fascinating. It's a fascinating read. She's grassroots in Michigan, and this newsletter is, I mean, it tells it all, and she's going to continue doing this, pulling out new members and where their money comes from, and all this stuff is public knowledge. You can go on the state's websites and look up their, I think it's actually Secretary of State, and look up who their donations came from. And it gives you a pretty good story on why these guys are listening to these guys and what maybe they've been promised for the reelection. And, who knows?
Tina, I just got a couple questions just about the point you made here. Of these 3, question 1 is, are they Republicans or Democrats? And question number 2, are the Democrats united in support of this? Are there any breakaway Democrats? So 2 questions.
I think there was one Democrat who didn't vote, if I recall, and one who voted against, and I am curious why.
Okay.
That might be one that we'll talk to, and I there's a couple of them that we really like, actually, the Democrats, that they'll actually talk to us. There's some Democrats that while we could be on their side on an issue, they find out that we might be with Tea Party, and they completely shut us down, which I guess I understand. But there's a couple of them that will actually have a conversation, and we try to do that. And I think your first question was, are these guys Republicans or Democrats?
The 3 that you referred to.
Oh, those are all Republicans.
Okay.
Those are all Republicans, and I'm sure the rest of this is what's funny about the Democrats hating us is we don't go after the Democrats because we know they're not going to be with us. We go after the Republicans who should be with us. And so when we go over there and talk to people, it's with the Republicans.
So they're
our problem.
Tina, they must think that you won't allow some of the Republicans that would be a little squishy. They must perceive that you stop them from being squishy. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I still say it's follow the money. And to your point, just to re-echo it before we go to a break, but just to re-echo Tina's point, if you go to the Secretary of State website, you can go to michigan.gov, follow the link to Secretary of State, follow that to either candidates, and it'll show you their campaign finance statements. And it's a pretty fascinating thing. It will really tell you who your state legislator really is. We're going to slip to a break, folks, and we'll be back shortly.
You're listening to News Talk 1090, WKBZ.
Hey, can we talk to
Be
Tina?
a survivor, not a statistic. Renegade
Tina?
River in Spring Lake
Hey,
has
Jim
new
Riley
and
here.
used
Got a
handguns,
question.
hunting guns, sporting goods, and survival gear.
I don't know
Protect
where I
your
run into
rights
you.
and your freedom.
Maybe it's
Ask
Facebook
about
or
their
whatever.
CPL
but
classes. Renegade River, next to the
where do
police
we get
station
information
downtown Spring
from
Lake.
the Tea
It
Party
seems
of
that
West
there's
Michigan?
just
For
no
instance, you
end to
mentioned
all those commercials about credit reports.
The information
Credit,
that Fabiano
your credit,
sent out.
is a
do you have
vital
a
part of your
website or a
financial
way
profile.
where you post
That's why I
information
believe you
that,
have a
that
right to
people can
know
go
your
to?
credit score, to know what the banks, the credit card companies, and the car dealers already know about you. And that's why I want
But isn't
you to
that the
know
one
about
that you have
Credit
to-
Karma.
you sign in?
I've done my
Is that-
research,
okay.
and Credit Karma is the only place I recommend for you to
Okay.
get your truly free credit score. Credit Karma has the tools to help you find credit cards
Okay.
that give you the most cash
All right,
back,
and another
the
question I was
best
gonna ask,
mortgages,
because
the
it's-
best car
especially
loans.
at the Senate race, but I
Compare
know we
your
still
report
got,
to national averages.
we're still
Protect
kind
your
of
credit
all the
report
senators
with
are
free
retiring
credit
at the same
monitoring
time, but,
and check for errors in your report.
We've got
all
some
of
people,
this
for
can
instance,
improve
like,
your credit health. Download
Hansen
Credit Karma's
here
free
in
app.
Muskegon,
Track your progress
who
beginning
is up
right
for
now.
election and
There are no
possibly
hidden fees
facing a
and
Holly
no
Hughes
credit cards
situation where we
required.
might have either a
Sign up
primary
right
run or
now and get your
third party.
credit score
Have
in
you
less
guys,
than 2
counted
minutes.
heads at
It's
who's up for election? 'Cause
creditkarma.com.
those seem
That's
to be the ones that would be
creditkarma.com.
most easily
There's a new
swayed.
set of realities in today's job market, one of which is that learning doesn't stop when you have the job. The business world moves at warp speed. Technology changes almost overnight. Now with lynda.com, you can learn the skills you need to succeed. Lynda.com is an online library of easy-to-understand instructional videos. You get unlimited access to thousands of videos
Okay,
on
they're still in
hundreds of
sequence
topics,
then, okay.
like business skills, computer software,
It's
photography, and web design. The courses, taught by top experts, are designed
Sure.
to help
Well, that's
you
why-
learn at
that's
your
why we
own
need to
pace.
let them
whether
know
you're a beginner
that we
or
support them
advanced,
making
and
the
whether
right
your
decision.
goal is
Because certainly
professional
there's
or
people
personal.
being very
I
vocal on the other
absolutely
side.
love lynda.com.
Lynda.com's given me the edge I need to compete.
I've
long
never
do we
been
have
more
left?
up to
30
date with technology, business, design.
Just a few of the unsolicited testimonials we receive every day. You can read more at lynda.com. And while you're there, sign up for a free 7-day trial. Lynda.com. You can learn it.
Renegade River in Spring Lake wants to
I love
buy
that
your used
commercial.
handguns
I
and
do
hunting
too.
guns. Renegade River, your hunting, camping, and survival store. Stop in and check out their new and used firearms, sporting goods, Army and Navy supplies, and survival.
Hey, I want a
gear. Downtown
shotgun.
Spring
What
Lake,
new?
next to the
For
police
my
station.
The talk of Muskegon. News Talk 1090, WKBZ.
Well, welcome back. You're listening to Mike Hewitt with the Renegade River Show. In the studio today, we've got Jim Riley, from host of Eye on Muskegon, and we've got on the line with us Tina DuPont, who is the founder of the Tea Party of West Michigan. Welcome back, Tina.
Thank you.
And welcome back, Jim.
I'm so thrilled to be here.
I'm thrilled to have both of you here. I really am. We were talking a little bit before we went to break about the attitude you're getting, and frankly, whether these people are some of the legislators can be motivated one way or another. Do you in a different segment, Jim and I are off the air, actually we're talking about the various elected legislative people having district hours. Do you go to a lot of those or any of those, Tina?
I don't, but I suggest people do. I don't, because since we go to Lansing, we get a whole lot more done at once. We can talk to a lot more of them or a lot more of their staffs. But certainly go to those legislative hours, go to their office hours or whatever they're calling them. A lot of them have them in different restaurants around their area, and talk to them about this stuff, by all means, about anything. that's what they're there for. That's what they do the hours for.
Yeah, just so that the listeners and we can visualize this. When you go to Lansing, I think a lot of people think about going to Lansing as a bunch of people standing out in the front steps or the front yard of the Capitol. But when you go, Tina, are you inside the House of Representatives going from door to door? Because I've been there a number of times. I know they're long hallways with doors, etc. But how are you interfacing with our legislators?
It depends on the day. If we find that there's some sessions that the issue is something near and dear to our heart, or something actually usually that we're against, that's all listed on their site, and ahead of time we'll maybe even write up a testimony, and we'll go in and testify in these committees, which they should always allow you to do. They will sometimes run out of time, but I sat 2 days through one committee, turning in my little card saying I wanted to speak, and they completely ignored me. And so, I mean, that kind of stuff can and will happen, but usually they will let us speak. And if you have something written and you read it, even, as nervous as you can be, it's so strong to them to have somebody who actually cares enough to come over there and do that. But then we also do go to office to office, and generally we don't talk to the legislature because you kind of need to make an appointment for that. They have a lot of lobbyists stopping in on them, but you can talk to their staff. You can leave things with their staff. The staffs are very good about making sure they get anything you leave and get your name and stuff. And if they don't act that way, you need to talk. You need to then make an appointment with that legislator and get their staff straight, because that's what they're there for. We pay them; they need to listen to us.
Now, do you go to the Capitol and watch the sessions happening from time to time, or?
Yeah, sometimes, but by the time it gets there, it's too late. The best place to stop or affect something is in the session itself. And that can be tricky because, especially lately with all the appropriations bills coming through, there's, 7, 8, 9 a day. Some of them are at the same time. I have a friend, Isabel, and then I've had as many as 10 people over there at once, and we end up splitting up. But lately it's been Isabel and I, for the most part, because we don't have jobs, and this is kind of what we do unpaid. So we split. We'll go to different sessions at the same time, or in the same session if there's only one that we're interested in. And we sit in and we learn a lot there. We learn a whole lot there.
Tina, I say this with the utmost complimentary thought in mind, but I can picture some of the legislators sitting there going, oh my goodness, here comes Tina again.
That happens. That really does. And then the ones that like our support, they beam when they see us walk through the door. They're happy that we're there. There's some good people over there. There's just not enough of them.
Yeah, I thoroughly agree with that.
Tina, I've got a question. You are a kind of a frontline activist, but you're also in communication with a large group. If someone here, let's say in Muskegon County, is interested in trying to affect this vote, contacting their senator, what's the best way for someone who's not going to drive to Lansing, but they finally going to get off out of the Barca Lounger and do something? What's the best way for them to do it? And let's use this as an exact example.
Well, I don't think there's really a best way. It's whatever's easiest for them. But a call to the staff. Certainly, you can ask to talk to the legislator, but chances are they'll be in a session or in a meeting. But go to office hours, email them. Don't be respectful and nice, but strong and firm on your position, and try to have some facts backing you. But even if you don't have facts and you know this is wrong, like for instance this health care, you could, if you had the facts, say something like, well, you guys just signed on to an agreement tied to this $31 million that you couldn't even see what was in it because it's classified from the federal government. What are you doing signing something you don't have a clue you've just put us in slavery for?
Amen.
And besides, I mean, I like to throw the line. you could be giving away every single firstborn in the state of Michigan. Do you realize how serious this could be? And some of them, their eyes got big when I said that to them the other day, and those people didn't vote for it. So we can affect them, and we should be, because they should be listening to us, not the big money people. But back to your actual question, anything you can do to get your message to them is good.
But a phone call is effective, though.
I think that's probably the best one. Email is pretty good, too. If it's in session, you can actually send an email to the clerk of that session, and it will be and ask for your position to be recorded, and it will be recorded in the meeting minutes of that hearing or that session. So do that, too.
I've got to say, first off, I like those ideas, but I got to tell you, I've went to Senator Kuiper's gone by. I've went to Senator Meekhoff, and of course I'm from Ottawa County, so Amanda Price and Haveman down in Holland. I've went to all of these people's several times, for most of them, to their local district hours, where they'll go to somebody's coffee shop and they'll announce it on Facebook. They put it on their websites that their district hours are, and usually they're fixed. I know that Arlen's got, last I looked, Arlen Meekhoff had 3 different district times during a month. Amanda's got a couple, Amanda Price from the 89th district. I say that because when I went and met with these people, it was one-on-one. In fact, when I met with Senator Wayne Kuipers when he was still in the state Senate, we were sitting in a library over in a corner on several different occasions in Coopersville with nobody else talking. So I had some one-on-one time with all of the state legislators that I've wanted to reach out to enough to bother to go. They were sitting there alone. I could have an uninterrupted, unfeathered, didn't have to walk away from my email going, I wonder if that's getting read. And that's why they do the district hour. So I encourage listeners to reach out to these people and find out, do like Tina says, call their offices and find out when their local district hours are. Go meet them. They'll shake your hand and tell you what they're working on. I mean,
absolutely.
They do that purposely to reach out to the community, and I think a lot of them. And I don't want to put words in their mouths, but I've had legislators frustrated before and have expressed to me, I come sit in this coffee shop for 4 hours once a week, and rarely do anybody much more than 2 or 3 people show up. They've been frustrated with it, no matter how they've communicated it. No, like the electorate's not reaching back to them. So.
Absolutely, that's absolutely true. And then they get possibly blindsided because they don't realize so many people are against something. Now, I don't know how on this earth these guys could possibly not know how upset regular people would be about bringing in Obamacare, but they've changed the message that, well, we're going to get it anyway. The Supreme Court said we have to have it. It's law of the land, the talking points that went out, which I totally argue against them all because I don't believe a single one of them. But anyway, that's right, though. You need to show up. If you expect them to do the right things, they have to know what you think the right things are.
They really do. And sometimes there's an information bubble that they get stuck in. And I'll offer you an example. When in 2010, I got drafted back, for lack of better words, or re-voted. I became the chairperson for the Republican Liberty Caucus of Michigan again for a term. And when I first took over that chair, the very first thing I encountered was a piece of a bullet point or talking points that had been issued by the State House Republican Caucus. And in it listed a number of organizations that it cautioned its candidates to avoid contact with. And it had the Republican Liberty Caucus of Michigan listed with the Sierra Club. And I thought, wait a minute. I mean, we're classical liberals. I mean, not liberal, not contemporary liberal, very right wing. We're Jeffersonian. And we're getting listed with the Sierra Club? Now, I'm not taking on the Sierra Club. I'm saying that those two things don't fit in the same sentence. And I tell you that because it kind of goes to a point you made earlier on, Tina, but there is a little bit of an information bubble, and sometimes that blocks out the legislators from really, to your point, knowing how their constituency feels. Now, I issued a counter statement to that and ended up endorsing a number of candidates, and we had a great season. But the point is that bubble is really a hindrance sometimes to them.
Oh, it is. It is. I don't know if you recall this, but for a while, the national popular vote was going through our legislature, and several Republicans had signed on to it. And if you know anything about the national popular vote, which your listeners probably don't, it will take us from a republic to a democracy. It'll be mob rule, and our president will probably forever, then on out, be Democrats and more liberal each time, kind of like what's happened anyway. But our Republican legislators were signing on to this thing because they were believing what they were told about what national popular vote is. And until we got over there and started re-educating them, and I don't mean to make it sound like they're stupid or ignorant. The point is they have too much stuff flying across their desk, which is a good argument for a part-time legislature. I wish we had one. But they have so much stuff flying across their desk that they're listening to leadership, or they're listening to a lobbyist, or they're listening to someone who used to be in the legislature, and they're believing everything they're saying. And until we get in there and say, look what this will do, this will make all the big cities in the country pick our president, and all this little rural people will have no voice. And they're like, really? And, you can talk sense into some of them. I mean, you really, if they haven't heard it, if they don't know it. Now, with Obamacare, however, they already had the talking points from leadership, and I think down to almost a single one, they know better. But they ignored what they know, and they did the wrong thing. That's my personal opinion. I don't have proof.
I think you're absolutely right, but I think that we lived this once, to your earlier point, with in the last session with the health exchange, and frankly, some of the people that were on board with that surprised me, including Arlen Meekoff, who I consider to be a friend of mine and a patriot, but he was wrong. And if he's on board with this, he's still wrong. And again, I support him, I endorsed him, I liked him, I helped campaign for him, but he's wrong on this issue. And we need to have enough people like you that to make sure that is being communicated, to your point.
Yeah, I wish, and I am trying to get, if there's anybody out there listening that wants to learn how to do this, it's scary at first, but once you do it, we leave whenever we leave Lansing, except for a couple of times, like Thursday. We leave with a great feeling, like we've actually accomplished something. It feels like we're doing something instead of the protests out on the Capitol lawn where they don't even pay attention to us being out there. We leave thinking that we have done something that day. And it's a great feeling, and if anybody wants to do it, I'll be glad to meet you over there, show you what we do, and set you loose. And it's a fantastic thing to do. It really is.
Tell me this, Tina, when you're over there, are you seeing that there are people doing what you're doing, but for the other side? People, in other words, are there citizen activists that are coming forward in support of trying to push legislators towards Obamacare, et cetera?
Well, there were a group actually over there on Thursday, and I'm not exactly sure who they were with. There was one group that was kind of with us, but in a different. It wasn't specifically about Obamacare, and it was in a different kind of frame. I think it had to do with reporting our stats to the government, which, by the way, is going to happen to all of us. But there was a woman that sat down. I was waiting downstairs, waiting for other people to come, and she came over, and I said, hi, and because I don't know people. I mean, this was across the state. I was calling people out, and I thought maybe she was with us, and she said, what are you doing here? And I said, well, we're here against Obamacare. She goes, oh, well, then I don't want to talk to you because it'll be an argument. I said, okay. So she sat at her little table, and I sat at mine, and she was there lobbying. So, I'm sure that this happens regularly. In fact, when they passed the autism bills, there was a whole group of parents, and they were all wearing red shirts, and they were, pushing autism to be passed, which I was against. But that happens. So you do see on the other side there's people similar to us, although I have a feeling maybe they're bankrolled somehow. Maybe not, but...
Yeah, I think you're right, because often, like I said earlier, it's about follow the money. But my point in asking you that is to make sure that the listeners understand that this really is a battle. It's not just there's people on the other side pushing back. And,
Right.
and there are two distinctly different views of what the role of government is. And that's really what we're talking about. What role do we want to have government in our lives? And the folks on the other side of this fence, they don't see government in the same realm. They just don't. And they're pushing hard.
No, to me, I'd love for everybody to have health care and not have to pay for it. But the fact of the matter is when they give it to one person, they're taking something from somebody else. And that's where I draw the line. I think it's still not a federal government duty, but if they're going to do anything like that, for heaven's sakes, give them a health savings account and tell them that if they have money left over at the end of the year, they get to keep a little bit of it. Forget this, we're going to cover everybody for anything and this huge bureaucracy they're going to create, the massive fraud that's going to be involved in it, because we know with Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security there's fraud. So, they're turning us into a socialist country.
Well, I think we're already there, and the question is can we fight our way back? But, when you when you look at the concept, it seems to be that some people view government as this third-party monolith of never-ending cash flow, and then there are a few of them that are okay with the idea of taking the money from other people. But sadly, most people don't perceive it as, I got this from somebody else. They think they got it from government, which is a faceless entity.
Yeah, people do think that, and the government lets them think that. They kind of actually force them to think that. And then Obama, day after day, we got to take money from the rich. Well, I got news for them. There's not enough rich in the world to pay for all the trouble we're in this country.
Yeah, I saw that some report that talked about if we took everything from the top 1%, it would stretch our debt out for a day or two, something silly.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And it's just not considered by a lot of people. But Tina and Jim, we're going to go to a break, and we will be back very shortly.
Okay.
You're listening to News Talk 1090, WKBZ.
Renegade River in Spring Lake wants to buy your used handguns and hunting guns. Renegade River, your hunting, camping, and survival store. Stop in and check out their new and used firearms, sporting goods, Army and Navy supplies, and survival gear. Downtown Spring Lake, next to the police station.
Technology companies love to talk about magic, but we don't see magic in our hard drives. We don't see magic in anything we make. We see magic in what you make. Masterpieces painted with pixels, cinema verity directed with smartphones, and the history of art recorded one precious photo at a time. We see magic in what you save, and we can't wait to see what you'll do with it next. Is saving your digital life the beginning? Absolutely. Learn more at WD.com.
Progressive presents Flo's newest smash hit. The Name Your Price tool gives you lots of coverage options.
The Name Your Price tool. Our natural allies, which is, of course, corporate American businesses, they support the liberal agenda also. Everyone's been co-opted. We really don't have any deep pockets people supporting us.
We'll be back in just a second, and he'll explain.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive. Visit Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Be a survivor, not a statistic. Renegade River in Spring Lake has new and used handguns, hunting guns, sporting goods, and survival gear. Protect your rights and your freedom. Ask about their CPL classes. Renegade River, next to the police station in downtown Spring Lake.
Essentially, yeah. But when and to me,
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. With the sequester spending cuts now taking effect, the battle continues over ways to stop them. House Speaker John Boehner wants a long-term spending cut.
Watch leaders from both parties kick this can down the road, kick it down the road, and kick it down the road. We're out of road to kick the can down.
Boehner and NBC's Meet the Press. White House Economic Council Director Gene Sperling on ABC's This Week says the sequester cuts go too far.
It's like saying to somebody, you can cut off 3 of your fingers, but you can have the flexibility to choose which ones you want to cut off.
Rescue workers in Florida stopping their search for the man who was swallowed up along with part of his house by a sinkhole on Thursday. Engineer Russ McGillivray.
The problem with this one was it was entirely within the building, at least initially, and below slabs. So it was hidden until it became catastrophic.
Workers now in the process of destroying the house for safety reasons. Fox News, we report, you decide.
30 seconds.
Here's the official News Talk 1090 WKBZ forecast for the afternoon. A mix of clouds and sunshine at a high of 29 expected. Northwest winds 10 to 15. Tonight, mostly clear skies at a low down to 18. Northeast winds 5 to 10. Sunshine and clouds mixed tomorrow with a high of 34. East winds 5 to 10. Then more clouds than sunshine for Tuesday with a high of 34. We'll start off mostly cloudy on Wednesday, but then we'll see sunshine back in the afternoon. The high Wednesday around 40. News Talk 1090, the talk of Muskegon.
Welcome back. You're listening to Mike Hewitt on the Renegade River Show. And today we've got Jim Riley sitting in the studio with us, and on the line we've got Tina DuPont, founder of the Tea Party of West Michigan. Welcome back, everybody.
Great to be here.
Tina, I wanted to, if I could, kind of use this little bit of time we got left to segue us in a different direction. One of the things you said early on was that you've got up plus or minus 2,700 people that make up the Tea Party of West Michigan. And I kind of smiled when you said that, because that's so contradictory to what the media wants us to believe about Tea Parties. So tell me a little bit, what's the health of the Tea Party as a political force?
Well, thankfully, people aren't really listening to the press about us. I just let somebody on our site this morning, as a matter of fact, and it's interesting. We have about 5 questions they have to answer, and they're almost always the same. I'm sick of my government. My government's too big, that kind of stuff. And they know that's what the Tea Party's about, and they join us to get information. When I send out a message that you guys need to call the Senate now, calls are made, and sometimes I hear about it from aides. Oh my gosh, what did you do? And it's great. And so, yeah, we're still out there, and I do not like the national groups. The national groups have done nothing but hurt us. They ask for money from our members. They claim they're helping the local Tea Party, and we've never gotten 1 red cent from any of them. And then talking about Tea Party Patriots, Tea Party Express, those kind of groups. We are our own group. We started up 4 people. And we just started building it. We had a couple events that brought people in. We don't do events much anymore because, frankly, we get nowhere with them. It helps us grow, but we don't really need to grow much anymore. It's nice to grow, but, it's not something we need to do. So they're expensive. They take a lot of time. So we don't do that, and we've turned our focus to actual issues and legislation and the stuff that nobody wants to do because, frankly, it's boring and dry and stuff, but and it's hard. It's hard to figure out where they're going with this bill. But that's what we do now.
One of the things I love about what you're doing, Tina, is that the frustration for me, and I've been in and around at least West Michigan politics for a fair number of years now. But what I find frustrating with the general conversation is that there'll be some hot spot, some issue that's brought to the surface of the media, and it'll be all hyped for 2 or 3 or 4 days, and then we'll all move our attention to something else. But that continues to go. That whatever that activity is we were all twisted up about continues to percolate, and all of a sudden it's just become part of what our society is. And I think that's one of the secrets to the recipe that's used by the left, because they know that we've become a snapshot society. But when we've got people like you that are still wrestling with those issues, I just think it's a real important thing to have that not be forgotten and not just become yesterday's news.
Well, and that's exactly right. Obamacare, we've been fighting it 3 years, and we've held it off for 3 years. And here we are now on the precipice again of the state of Michigan getting it. And the only thing we have stopping that is the Senate, because for heaven's sakes, our governor, who I don't even call a Republican these days, is completely for it. So, and as it turns out, a lot of the Republicans in the legislature. But it does happen. Even Fox frustrates the daylights out of me, because I'll be watching it, they'll have one decent story and 5 stupid things, some exercise person or somebody that's going to make breakfast. And I'm going, what? Really?
I've often said that Fox News is just like CNN and the rest of them. They're just better at it. And when I look, for instance, I go to their .com and read it, keeping in mind I own a gun store, so it's one of my issues. And of course, they'll have 3 or 4 red meat topics, as I call it, and then mixed in, they'll find every possible shooting in America they can bring to the surface. And you go, wait a minute, there's 340 million people here, and you found 4 of them. Good for you. So there's a little bit of frustration with me on the communication part, and I think that Jim Riley would tell you one of the things that we're missing on our side of the fence is good communication. Am I putting words in your mouth, Jim?
Yeah, I would just change it. It's any communication whatsoever. I think therein lies the real problem. It's not poor communication; it's zero.
Yeah, it's truly a problem, and I've said on this show and certainly many times in business that at the bottom of every problem I've ever found, be it politics or business, was a lack of communication. And in terms of getting our side to coalesce around an idea and charge the hill, it's that lack of communication that causes to me it causes the loss.
It does, and that's where as weird as Facebook is and as scary as it is, because we know all our information is everywhere, all over Facebook, it has become our tool, because we are sharing constantly articles we read and things that are going on in Lansing. I probably can hit as many people on Facebook with a post, because people repost it, as I can through my own group. So I use Facebook a lot. We've even set up, in fact, we had a group specifically to fight national popular vote. And people joined it. It was a closed group, but people came and wanted to be in it that knew something about it. And I learned so much about how our country was founded, why our states actually control the presidential election. I learned a lot. Just listening to these brains that knew this stuff. And that's where I was getting that was out on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook out there, guys, listening, friend me, tell me you heard me on the radio. I'll friend you in a heartbeat, and you'll get more stuff than you ever wanted to see.
Well, now, quick question here, because I just, on my Facebook, I just put in Tea Party of West Michigan, and I sent a request in. Is that where you want to be friended, or are there additional places?
There, my actual wall, it doesn't matter.
Explain to me what that actual wall means, because I have no clue.
Okay, well, each person that joins Facebook has a wall.
Okay, so I just got to stop for a minute. I'm agreeing with Jim. He's clueless. I love it.
There we go. I am clueless. Well, when you say so I put in Tina
DuPont, Tina Lewis DuPont, because my maiden name's in there to get some high school friends that don't ever even read my stuff anymore because I got tired of it. I'm from Ohio.
Okay, well, there we go. Well, that's what we did. I just wanted to make sure we get it out there. So we put in the Facebook search page, Tina Lewis DuPont, and there you are. Okay.
There I am. And then the Tea Party West Michigan is also has a group, and there's one specifically for, and I won't get it right, but it's called Healthcare and healthcare. It starts with healthcare. If you put that in, a bunch of different sites will come up and they say healthcare. And I know Michigan's in the title, so if you want to know about Obamacare, go to that one, and you'll get that one specifically. People post about Obamacare. And there's all kinds of just about any issue you want to know about. You can join a Facebook page and learn about it.
You know what I find ironic, and of course I think I've got both of you on my Facebook page, and I use it as I don't want to say a stone thrower, but it's my mechanism that I use to try to cause people to get involved or take an interest or whatever the word would be. But I've had people message me and they'll say, "Mike, do you really want to say that in public? Because the government's watching." Which reminds me of that old quote of "I love my country, but I fear my government." And I said, "Wait a minute, I own a gun shop. I'm already on the watch list, so I really don't care." But it's a fascinating thing. There are literally millions of people, tens of millions of people that are using this as a network source, not just Facebook, but the internet in general. And of course, you got to be cautious because of the old joke about what I saw it on the internet, so it must be true. Or it's not. You've got to use some common sense here. But it is a great way of keeping on top, to Tina's point, of what's really going on.
The Tea Party wouldn't be what it is, without the internet. There is no way. We'd probably be 50 people in Grand Rapids. It's blossomed through the internet just because people see stuff about it, and they read these stories, and they're like, wow, what, really? That's going on? And so they start looking, and before you know it, they found Tea Party West Michigan in the search engine, and they join it, and then they join Facebook, and, it just expands.
It does. For me, the quote that I started the show with today was where in this case it was Thomas Jefferson talking about how it would get to the point where the only thing we have time for is to rivet the chains of the other surfers around us. And I use that as an example as we head towards the end, because I think it's true. And what Facebook does, and the internet in general, not just to become a Facebook hack, but what it does in the end, though, is it gives everybody an opportunity to have a voice in what's going on while they're still working their 50 and 60 hours a week to pay their taxes.
Right. They get a lot of information very quickly. And it also, though, helps you solidify your own positions, because as you're challenged by different people, and trust me, there is challenging out there, and even if you're just reading other people challenge each other, you're reading, you're learning stuff, and as soon as somebody quotes a founder or something, you're like, wow, really? They knew back then that we were going to go towards socialism if we don't have moral people running our country? I mean, it's amazing to me. I look back, and I'm a Christian, and I really think that our founders God was in control of the beginning of our country, and still is. And many of those guys were Christians, not all of them, and they were all different flavors, for that matter. But they were moral men, and they knew what they came from and how bad it was, and they could envision what was going to happen in this country if things weren't done correctly. And they gave us a beautiful Constitution, which gave us a beautiful country, and almost immediately people started changing it and messing with it. They gave us the 17th Amendment that took away the way we pick our senators, and just started chipping away at this great country we had. And it's still a great country, still the best in the world, still the best health care. But that's quickly changing, and we have to stop it. We have to reverse it. It's really scary what's going on.
Absolutely agree. That's the old saying that says, wait to see how expensive it is once it's free.
Exactly.
It's going to be, to me, we've been asking the wrong question all along, and we keep saying, how can we pay for higher college? Wait a minute, we shouldn't be paying for prices that are insane. How can we pay for $9 cotton balls? The question in the medical industry, why would we want to pay for a $9 cotton ball? I mean, we as a society need to, first off, step away from government and become self-dependent again, self-directing, and then along with that, ask those questions from the standpoint of competition and capitalism that made America great. So that's at least how I see it. Tina, I want to thank you very much for being on the show today, and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
And Jim Riley, I appreciate having you on here again also.
Well, it's great to be here. It's great to talk to Tina. And Tina, I would second what Mike said. Keep up the good work. You're not alone.
Great, thank you. I know I'm not alone, because I would have no power over there if it wasn't for them knowing there's a bunch of people behind me that feel the same way.
No question. God bless you, Tina. Thank you very much, and thank you, listeners. Have a great day.
Bye.
Are you gone?
Well,